So, Minister, we heard pledges from Vice President Pence here that the support is unbroken for NATO, but also the call for NATO members to do more. How much more challenging has your job as Canadian Defence Minister become over those past months that we've seen?
To be very frankly honest, actually, the challenge has not changed. The challenges that we all have are the security situations that we deal with, especially when it comes to a bilateral defense relationship between Canada and the U.S. Our relationship is actually very deep because of, as U.S. is our only neighbor, and our defense relationship is, when it comes to the only binational command in the world, which is NORAD, the work that we do for North American security as well, how it relates to our fight against Daesh and the work that we do with NATO. So this is nothing new for us, and we've been working together, and we'll always work in cooperation together into the future.
Particularly on the issue of redefining relations with Russia, also from a NATO perspective, the German defense minister told us she could only see that with the entire bloc acting together in redefining that relationship. We haven't heard such clear words from the United States. What would be the Canadian take on that?
No, well, I think Vice President Pence, when he came here, and made a very strong statement in when it comes to Russia. Of course, when it comes to NATO, we stand united and together on this as well. And it's great to have the Vice President, on behalf of President Trump, come to the Munich Security Conference and make a statement like that and give the confidence to the rest of the European allies on this.
Now, also, there are signals out of the United States questioning multilateralism, not just in the economy, but also other ways to proceed. We heard a very strong pledge today from the German Chancellor, from the United Nations, that multilateralism is the only way forward. Now, I know that Canada also shares that perspective, but how do you try and get that message across to the new administration that you're talking to in Washington?
In fact, actually, the U.S. believes in multilateralism as well. Secretary Mattis, statements that he makes, he always states that in his distinguished service that he's at, he's always fought together with allies in a coalition. We've done this together when it goes back to World War I. So this is ingrained into our history, and we will always work together. Yes, there are, when it comes to working in multilateralism, you have many different nations involved, and we have certain differences, but we work out those differences for a collective good. And that's a discussion that we've had when it comes to defense investment. It is important for all nations to be able to do their part and look at what that contribution is going to be. Defense investment is one thing. We also need to look at is actually investing in the right capabilities. Plus, at the same time, we need to make sure we have the right outputs when it comes to dealing with the threats that we all face.
Now let's look at the big picture. According to the Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov, we live in a post-Western order. Does that resonate with you?
I think, listening to Mr. Lavrov, action speaks louder than words. And when you see the aggressive actions in Crimea, what's happening in the Ukraine, it's hard to walk away from that and then listen to some of those words. I also have a policing background. I look at evidence and facts, and these facts are right before us. Hence the reason why we in NATO are required to take more of a deterrence effort. Hence the enhanced forward presence. But one thing is for sure, NATO is not about taking an aggressive posture, it's a defensive posture. And we want to make sure that we have good dialogue with Russia so that we can start de-escalating. And that's what's needed. And at the end of the day, when we, as a NATO alliance, work together with Russia, we can actually bring stability into other parts of the world as well.
Minister Singh, thank you very much for talking to us.
Okay, thank you.